UFC 327 is happening this Saturday. I'm going to go through the entire card, break down every single fight on the card, give you guys the notes and style of each fighter, as well as my best bets and prediction for each fight. If you guys want the full recap of the card, fast forward to this part of the video. Let's get into it. All right, to kick off the card, we got Francisco Prado versus Charles Radke. Charles Radke was 7-3 on the regional scene, fought out of CFFC, debuts in the UFC with 2 straight wins, and then goes 2-2 in his last 4, with his 2 losses being to Carlos Prates and Mike Mallet. But his style, he's a pretty basic pressure fighter, pushes a good pace, solid power, but the chin and durability overall have just been really questionable. He's gotten finished, I think, 3 or 4 times in his career already, but he's got no problem implementing grappling against low-level grapplers. If you have no grappling base, he has no problem exposing that. His opponent, Francisco Prado, went 11-0 on the regional scene, had a 100% finishing rate over there, goes on the Contender Series, gets a win. Since joining the UFC, though, he's 1-4. He's just really struggled bouncing between weight classes at 155 and 170. Too big for 155, but I think he probably could have stuck there. Moves up to 170 and has just looked way too small. But he trains out of American Top Team, so he's got a good team. His style, he's a durable guy with strong grappling base, but he just doesn't really have the speed or technicality to overcome his size and power disadvantage. This is the first fight, though, where he's not facing somebody that's like way bigger than him, because even at 155, he fought Zell Huber, so a big lightweight in the first place. But my prediction for the fight, I do think Charles Radke will win by decision. Unless Prado just lands one of his big looping shots that he throws and is able to sleep Radke, I just don't see a way that he wins. I think Radke's really just better everywhere the fight goes. Prado's a durable guy, so I don't think he's going to get finished, but I do think Radke will take care of him. At minus 190, it's pretty good value too, so I think he takes care of him to kick off the card. Next up, we got Kevin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque. Kevin Gastelum, he went on The Ultimate Fighter in 2012 and actually won the entire show. He's been a UFC vet, been in with the promotion for a long time. He's 14-10-1, bouncing between weight classes. He's got the widest build in the UFC. It's so weird. Struggled to miss weight a lot, regardless of what weight class he's at, which is kind of weird to me. But his style, he's a well-rounded fighter. He has really good hand speed and pressure over 3 rounds. He just seems to kind of lack the killer finishing instinct, I'd say. There's so many moments in fights where he has his opponent hurt, or he could just apply more pressure or do more, and he just doesn't feel that pressure. Like I said, he just kind of lacks that finishing instinct. But his opponent, Vicente Luque, he was an average regional scene fighter, then goes on The Ultimate Fighter and loses the UFC debut as well, but then goes on in this insane run, becomes a really good contender at welterweight, and then most recently he struggled, faced some really good comp, to be fair to him, but now he's moving up to middleweight, so we'll see how that goes for him. His style, he's just been quite the victim lately. Like I said, he's faced good comp, but he's been quite the victim. Looks really slow, very washed. I hate to use that word, but it just kind of fits here. Really average striking. He just doesn't force the ground game either as much as he should. I think that's where he'd work the best, but he likes to, I guess, stand and let the grappling come to him. But my prediction for the fight, I do think Kevin Gastelum will win by decision. Gastelum money line at minus 260. He's like one of the biggest favorites on the card. That just tells you how many 50-50s are on this card. Yeah, I think the fight will go the distance as well. Kevin Gastelum just doesn't really have that in him, I don't think. But I think he uses his speed advantage well over the course of 15 minutes, just kind of piece him out. This would have been a banger fight like 4 or 5 years ago, I think. But both of these guys just seem to not really be who they were. And I think Kevin Gastelum is probably less washed than Vicente. Again, I hate using those words, but yeah, I think Kevin Gastelum is just still the better fighter and is able to get it done over 15 minutes. A fun one to end off the early prelims, Chris Padilla versus Markel Medeiros. Chris Padilla, he went 13-6 on the regional scene, was pretty average, would win some fights, lose some fights. Then he just seemed to really lock in, went on a title run, became champ in UNF, and then joins the UFC and is 4-0 so far. His style, he's a smaller, more compact fighter. He seems to struggle against length, though, the most. I'd say that's definitely his biggest weakness is lengthy strikers. But he has a high fight IQ. He'll wear his opponents down really well over 15 minutes, throw some really nasty low kicks. His opponent, Markel Medeiros, he went 7-1 on the regional scene, fighting over in Fury FC. Gets a KO win on the Dana White Contender Series. Since joining the UFC, he's 3-0. So 2 undefeated guys so far. He's a crafty Muay Thai striker, throws great knees, really good kicks, just how a typical Muay Thai fighter would fight. He's very weak, though, in the grappling department, and it's not necessarily the takedown defense. I think it's just the resistance overall to grappling. He's really comfortable getting held up against the cage at times. Not a whole lot of urgency to really fight that, but my prediction for the fight, I do think Chris Padilla will knock him out in the 3rd round. I just think that Chris Padilla is a much smarter fighter, has a lot more experience than Medeiros. But like I said, it's really like the urgency that bothers me with Markel Medeiros. I think Chris Padilla, he likes to hold his opponents up against the cage. I think he'll do that and then wear Medeiros down to the point where in the end of towards the end of the third round, maybe the late second round, Chris Padilla is able to find a finish in there somewhere. But yeah, Padilla money line at minus 190, I think makes sense. And the fight to go over 1.5 rounds at minus 425, I think is a good bet as well. To kick off the regular prelims, we got Tatiana Suarez versus Lupita Godinez. Tatiana Suarez, she won the Ultimate Fighter show, then goes on a 6-fight win streak, just really charges her way to the top of the division, becomes the number one contender, and then fights Zhang Wei Li for the belt. Loses pretty badly, but then is able to bounce back in her most recent fight, I believe, against Amanda Lemos. She is a very strong control wrestler. She looks to take her opponents down and just use her size advantage. She is massive compared to a lot of these other strawweights, but she has a guillotine, can rip ground and pound, but really mostly just looks to control, like I said, and use her size advantage. Her opponent, Lupita Godinez, she went undefeated on the regional scene, became a champ over in LFA, joins the UFC, has really only ever lost to elite competition. She's had some really competitive fights though against those against that elite competition. Her fight against Mackenzie Dern was very competitive. She just seems to be really coming into her own recently. Her most recent fight again at 319 was great. Her style, she's a crisp volume boxer, has pretty good hand speed, but overall, her grappling base is strong as well. She's just not a very threatening finisher. She doesn't have any submission wins throughout her career and she doesn't have the KO power at strawweight. I mean, not a lot of people do, but like I said, she's more of a volume boxer than anything. My prediction for the fight, I'm actually taking Lupita Godinez to win by decision. I like the underdog value at plus 125, but I don't know. I think she's able to scramble well. I don't think Suarez is going to be able to lay and pray like she typically does. I think Godinez creates good scrambles, stuffs takedowns, and then is able to use her hand speed advantage in this one and just kind of outstrike Suarez to a decision. I do think the fight to go the distance is probably the bet here, no matter what. Because I mean, unless Suarez catches her in a guillotine or something crazy, I don't really see this one ending with inside the distance. I think Godinez, like I said, is not a threatening finisher, and Suarez really isn't either. So at minus 450 to go the distance makes a lot of sense, and then Suarez under on significant strikes as well. I think now is where things kind of might start to heat up. Mateusz Gamrot versus Esteban Ribovics. Mateusz Gamrot, he went on a huge run in KSW before getting signed to the UFC. He loses his debut, but has proven to be a really good fighter in the lightweight division. Has a win over Arman Sarukian. Controversial win, but albeit it's a win. Also has a win over Rafael Fiziev as well. Trains out of American Top Team, so he's at a good gym, but his style, just a control wrestler. He does a great job of keeping his opponents down once he takes them down. Prevents scrambles really well, but just seems to do just enough to edge out decision wins. But he does not live well in chaos at all. If he is forced to fight at a pace that's not his own, I think that's where he really struggles as a fighter. His opponent, Esteban Ribovics, starts his career 10-0 on the regional scene before getting a round 1 KO in Dana White Contender Series. Joins the UFC. He's been really inconsistent. He's faced decent comp, I'll give him that. But he went to war with Daniel Zellhuber, and it has really not aged well so far. But his style, he's a scrappy, high-volume striker, good durability, just really untested in the grappling department so far. He has submission wins on the regional scene, and I'm sure he's not defenseless as a grappler, but he has not faced anyone near as high level in the grappling department as Mateusz Gamrot. My prediction for the fight, I do think Gamrot is going to win by unanimous decision. I don't see how Ribovic stops the grappling, and I just think Gamrot's kind of able to lay and pray to a decision. He's a minus 180 favorite. I think that's a little low in my opinion. I feel like he should have been in the 200s, minus 220, minus 230, something like that. So that's good value there in my opinion. If you want a high value straight, we'll talk about it at the end, but I think a Ribovic sub is maybe a crafty, one to throw in there. I do think Gamrot will hit the over on takedowns. I don't like the matchmaking here. I do have to throw this in. I think Ribovics would have been a great matchup to throw him up against Dan Hooker, somebody that actually has a win over Mateusz Gamrot. If Ribovics is able to stuff takedowns and kind of create chaos, and like I said, force Gamrot to fight at a pace that's not his own, I do think he has a good chance in this one. If I think it can go similar to the Dan Hooker fight, but prediction-wise, I just don't see it happening. Like I said, I think Gamrot's able to get it done over the course of 15 minutes and eke out a decision win. All right, get ready to lose your money because it's Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown up next. Kevin Holland, he had a good run on the regional scene, goes on the Dana White Contender Series, and actually gets a win, but no contract. Then he debuts in the UFC in 2018. Since then, he's been 15-12, becomes kind of a fan favorite because of his antics, like in the octagon. He talks a lot. He's constantly talking. It's really entertaining to watch, actually. I think that's why the fans like him so much. But he's just been trying to do too much recently. Tries to fight way too much. He's super active, but to the point where it's hurting him. Tries to go up to middleweight to fight even more. Got demolished at middleweight. So his style, though, he's a very talented. He's just so talented. He's got great BJJ submission ability. He has power on the feet. He can finish the fight in so many ways. He's just really struggled with consistency and needs to take more time off. He had no business losing that fight against Daniel Rodriguez back in the Poirier Holloway card last summer. Like I said, no business losing that fight, but he's just trying to do too much. So he's taking some time off. His opponent, Randy Brown, he goes undefeated on the regional scene in the Ring of Honor combat, or Ring of Combat, sorry. Signs with the UFC in 2016, and since then he's pieced together a nice career. He's gone 14-7, but he's just never really beat anybody that he should or shouldn't beat, I should say. Being more of a gatekeeper outside the rankings or at the very bottom of the rankings. His style, he's a very tall and lengthy striker. Just seems to be slowing down a little bit as he reaches kind of the end of his career. Just wants to fight at range, pick his shots, use his length with pretty low output. My prediction for the fight, I do think Kevin Holland will submit him in the first round. And look, I know this is risky, and I'll I'm okay with looking like a dumbass if I'm wrong, but I do think Kevin Holland is kind of locked in. He's taking time off. I think he'll come back looking better. I'm not super impressed with Randy Brown, especially in his most recent performances. I don't know. I just think Kevin Holland's able to find a takedown or, finish the fight in some sort of way. I think he'll probably get it done soon, too. So I think Kevin Holland money line at plus 110. He's the underdog. Good value. Even better value is him to finish the fight by KO or submission, plus 210. The best bet, regardless, is probably the fight not to go the distance at minus 110. It's a coin flip. I do think if Kevin Holland loses, he'll probably get chinned in some way in Kevin Holland fashion. But yeah, risky pick. Please, for the love of God, do not put him in any parlays. I mean, that is like sentencing your parlay to death regardless. Even if he does win, that thing's probably all kinds of fucked up. But so I like Kevin Holland to this one. I'm okay with looking stupid if he doesn't win. But yeah, I think I've got him by round one submission in this one. To wrap up the prelims, we got Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Pico. Patricio Pitbull, he was a huge star in Bellator. Actually has a win over Michael Chandler over there, became a double champ. Since joining the UFC, he's 1-1 with his most recent fight being a win over Dan Ige. He's nearing the end of his career for sure, but his style, he's scrappy on the feet, wants to take the fight to the mat though and work his BJJ. Used to be this explosive, dangerous guy, but since joining the UFC, just recently has been very conservative and reactionary. His opponent, Aaron Pico, he was also a really big name in Bellator. When they merged with PFL, he had one fight in PFL. Then he gets signed to the UFC, makes his very anticipated UFC debut at UFC 319 against Lerone Murphy. He was actually the co-main event. He gets brutally slimed out with a spinning elbow. His style, he's a big, powerful boxer on the feet. His sheer size at featherweight is pretty impressive as well, but he throws good hooks, overhands, does great body work as well. He also has a really good grappling base, but he wants to keep the fight standing if he can. His only problem, I think, as we saw in his most recent fight, is he can be a bit predictable and impatient. Doesn't really want to let the fight come to him. He's constantly being the aggressor, and I think we saw you know, the result of that in his most recent fight. But my prediction for the fight, I do think Aaron Pico will knock him out in the second round. He's going to look huge compared to Patricio Pitbull. He's the biggest favorite on the card, too, at minus 325. Yeah, I think he's just going to stuff takedowns from Patricio Pitbull and then tear him up on the feet. Pitbull's a durable guy, kind of, but he is getting older, like I said, and I just don't think he's able to, do really anything. No matter where the fight goes, I think Pico's the better fighter. I was really in on Pico before the Lerone Murphy fight, but I'm still kind of in on him. Maybe not as like this super top guy, but I do think he's a talented fighter. So I think he'll win this one at minus 325, and yeah, get it done by second round finish to end the prelims and kick off the main card. The Junction, Cub Swanson versus Nate Landwehr is up next. Cub Swanson, he's a legend of the UFC. He signed all the way back in 2011, has 25 fights in the promotion. He's been win-loss over the last 5 years. He had a big losing streak before that, but he will be retiring after this fight, so this is his last one. But his style, really unique striker. He has a very low-handed stance, fights with his hands down at his side. May not have the speed that he once had, but I think the accuracy and power are still definitely there. With his age, though, and his style, I think his chin is just a huge risk. His opponent, Nate Landwehr, went 13 and 2 on the regional scene, became a champ over an M1. Before signing with the UFC in 2020, now he's 5-5 in the UFC. Struggling as of late, he went 1-3 in his last four, getting finished in back-to-back fights as well. But his style, he's just a scrapper that wants to create dirty exchanges, and thrives off of like these small moments in fights that he can create. If he gets momentum, I think it can be really dangerous. But if you shut him down, I think he can be very vulnerable. He just doesn't really have the speed or durability, though, to be scrapping the way that he does. Like I said, the attitude is there, and like I said, he can get momentum, but I think he's outgrowing his style, or I guess outliving his style in a way. But my prediction for the fight, I think Cub Swanson will knock him out in the third round. I think he's fired up for his retirement fight, but I definitely would not pick a winner in this fight. Both of these guys are very finishable, and both of these guys have finishing ability. So I think Cub Swanson will win, but at the same time, it's a really risky. I think the best bet here is definitely the fight to go the distance at plus 105. I think this should have been the last prelim. That would have made sense because it would have been the last prelim. Cub Swanson would have retired. They would have given him the interview and everything, had that whole moment, and then kicked off the main card. Instead, it's the first fight on the main card. But oh well, regardless, I think Swanson will win by round 3 TKO. Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker is up next. Dominic Reyes, he was a former college football player, had a couple regional scene fights, and then gets signed to the UFC. Bursts onto the scene of the UFC, wins 6 straight fights, almost beats John Jones, arguably beats John Jones for the light heavyweight title. And then I guess he just sold his soul to maybe do that, because then he goes on this huge losing streak. Then he goes on a decent winning streak, pieces together 3 straight wins. Then he gets knocked out by Carlos Ulberg in his most recent fight. His style, he's a really technically sound kickboxer, tons of finishing ability, excellent footwork. He's just been very finish or be finished. And in this latter portion of his career, his chin is just not the same, especially since that John Jones fight, like I said. But his opponent, Johnny Walker, went 13-3 on the regional scene, gets a win on the Dana White Contender Series. He's been a bit of a streak win-loss guy up to this point in his career. He's a brother of Walter Walker and Julius Walker, too, I believe. I didn't put that in the graphic, but I think that is also his brother as well. There's 3 of them. He's also quite the character, really fun personality. He dislocated his shoulder doing the worm after one of his wins, so he's a fun guy. But his style, he's huge for the division. He's 6'6", this tall, lengthy dude. Does some nice work from distance on the outside, but has power of his own. But also has one of the worst chins in the UFC. I mean, it's definitely worse than Dominic Reyes's, but his chin is terrible. He just cannot take any damage. Durability is not there. My prediction for the fight, I do think Dominic Reyes will win via round 1 knockout. Similar to the Landwehr and Cub Swanson fight, be careful because both of these guys are very chinny. Both of these guys have power of their own. But yeah, I don't know. I think I just see this fight playing out where Johnny Walker is trying to sit on the outside and enter range, and then Dominic Reyes just catches him with a jab and is able to knock him out. But at the same time, I mean, I do think that a good bet for this fight, though, is the fight to go the distance. Both of these guys, I think, know that they have a terrible chin up to this point and are actively trying not to get finished, especially when you look at both of their most recent fights. You can tell they're being very conservative. And I think they probably end up fighting that way throughout the majority of the fight. So I would not be surprised if this fight goes the distance at plus 320. Yes, they both have terrible chins. Yes, they're both finishers and have finishing ability, but they're both have displayed very reserved tendencies in their most recent fight. So I do think this fight to go the distance at plus 320 is not a terrible bet, but I do think Reyes will get it done. But it's pretty 50-50 on this one. I just like Reyes a little bit more. I'm going to rant a little bit in this one. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. Curtis Blades versus Josh Hokett. Curtis Blades, he signs with the UFC in 2016, debuts against Francis Ngannou, loses 14-5 in the UFC so far, though, but only ever losing to the elite of the elite. Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou twice, Tom Aspinall, Sergey Pavlovich. Like, these guys he's losing to are very high level. His style, he has a very strong wrestling base of his own. Very skilled everywhere the fight goes, experience going all 3 rounds throughout his entire career. His chin, though, has been a bit of a problem. Kind of, yes, but look at the guys that are knocking him out though. Derek Lewis, Tom Aspinall. Like these are some of the Francis Ngannou, like the best heavyweights in the world are knocking him out. Outside of that, he has great wins too. Uh, um, Alexander Volkov. He has a win over Volkov. Like these guys that are skilled heavyweights that are proven skilled heavyweights. He has wins over, but his opponent Josh Hokett, he was a former NFL player, started off 5-0 on the regional scene, gets a round one knockout in the Dana White Contender Series, started building the brand there, has this wild personality. He destroys two complete cans in the UFC. And then I guess now he's getting a shot in the top five for being a jackass or talking like one at least. His 100% finishing rate hasn't seen the second round since his first ever fight professionally in 2023. His style, he just comes out and tries to fight. He's like a wind-up toy. Comes out, immediately tries to finish the fight, smothers grappling, does a great job of ripping ground and pound. He just does not. I don't care what anyone says. He does not have a great gas tank. Towards the end of the Marcus Freeman fight, or the end of the first round of the Marcus Freeman fight, I think he was gassed as well. Yeah, it was a fun moment. He flipped him off, gets the win via middle finger. It was a funny moment, but I am not sold on him at all. If he was fighting some fat, unathletic heavyweight at the bottom of the rankings, I'd be all in. I think he'd win for sure. And I also don't have a problem with his personality. I know, he's just kind of being a jackass for the sport, and it's good. I think it is actually good. We had some plenty of entertaining moments, but my prediction for the fight, I do think Curtis Blades will knock him out in the second round. He's just going to drag the fight a little bit longer than where Josh Hogan wants it to go. Him at minus 135 is great, great, great value. In the heavyweight division, there's just such clear levels, in my opinion. There's the very top, there's the really in heavyweight, there's the top, and then there's everything else. And I'm not saying Josh Hokett is everything else. He definitely has a chance to be in the top of that division, but I just don't think it's quite yet. I don't think he's had enough experience going past 5 minutes of a fight. And I think that's really where the difference is. Blades is able to nullify the wrestling to an extent, take the fight where Josh Hogan doesn't want it to go, and find a finish in the second round. We got the co-main event, Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. Azamat Murzakanov, he went 9-0 on the regional scene, gets a round 1 KO on the Dana White Contender Series, joins the UFC and goes 6-0, but he's been a bit of a can crusher up to this point. His best win is Dustin Jacoby so far. He's a brute striker with absolutely devastating power, constantly overextends, will take damage every now and then, but he really only needs one. And to be honest, it's probably because he used to be juiced up because he's short, fat, does not look like he should be at 205. He could definitely cut weight and make 185, but chooses not to. And like I said, he's just been knocking out everybody up to this point. Paulo Costa, he went on the Ultimate Fighter in 2014 and lost, and he signs back to the UFC in 2017. He's become, as soon as he signed back in the UFC in 2017, rose through the ranks at 185, became one of the top contenders, fought against Izzy for the belt and lost. I say it's his first fight moving up to 205. It's not. He's been at 205 before, but this is his first fight, I think, permanently or officially moving back up to 205, I believe. My last note, I just love this man. He's so funny. He's one of the best personalities. If you have a chance, go look at his Twitter. He's so damn funny. But my prediction for the fight, or I'm sorry, his style, he used to be this absolute warrior of a kickboxer, would just absolutely go to war, had a bit of a dip. In his most recent performance, though, he looked kind of vintage, like it returned back to vintage form. Seems to be feeling his fights out instead of just attacking where he's at his best. My prediction for the fight, I do think Azamat Murzakanov will knock him out in the first round. I'm so worried of this happening because I am going to feel so bad. Paulo Costa is typically a durable guy that doesn't get finished, but this is another one of those fights, though, where I see it going two very distinct ways. I think Azamat Murzakanov will knock him out in the first, 1.5 rounds of the fight, or I think Paulo Costa will take a decision. I think there is a possibility that Paulo Costa outclasses him and just kind of pieces him up, picks his shots well, and does damage to just take the fight over the course of 15 minutes. But up to this point, there's been no reason for me to doubt Mirzakanov's power. He's so powerful and strong, and I just don't know if Paulo Costa moving up to 205 is going to be a big enough difference. Paulo Costa is kind of one of those guys where he looks like he looks like he should be doing what Azamat Murzakanov is doing, but he's just not. I'm worried about this one. I don't know. I think those two bets are probably the two best. Maybe Mirzakhanov uh, under 1.5 rounds KO or Paulo Costa via decision. But yeah, I'm worried about this one. I'm definitely rooting for Paulo Costa, but I don't know. I think Asmat Mirzakhanov is going to be able to get it done by round one knockout. Main event. Jiri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. Jiri Prochazka, he was a big star on the regional scene. He was a champ over in Ryzen. Then comes to, I don't know if he was a champ, but he was a big star in Ryzen. Comes into the UFC, rolls straight to a title shot, defeats Taliesin Teixeira via submission. Since joining the UFC, he's basically just beat everybody at 205, not named Alex Pereira, or I guess, or Carlos Ulberg up to this point. His style, he's a true mixed martial artist, a complete samurai, very well rounded. It's a very unique style, though. He looks slow, doesn't move well defensively. He'll kind of, it's almost like a 205 plot, like plus plot armor DDP style. He'll kind of like get his ass kicked for the first 10, 12 minutes of the fight, but is just able to find a way. He thrives so well in these small moments, and he's able to, if he's able to create chaos and disrupt the pace and flow of the fight, he will take over and roll straight from there. All of his wins come from just a short moment where he's able to take over. If he's able to alter the pace in any sort of way, he seems to just kind of roll from there and take over the fight. But his opponent, Carlos Ulberg, he's a former rugby player, then a dancer. Yes, a dancer is what I was on. Apparently not a dancer, actually. He was just a usher, I guess. I don't know. But everybody thinks he's a male stripper, or he was. But joins the UFC in 2021, gets a win on the Contender Series, loses his debut, and then since then he's been 9-0, just kind of cruise controlling his way to the top. Good wins in there for sure, but nothing too crazy or special. Trains out of city kickboxing as well. His style, he's a very slick kickboxer. He has good accuracy and athleticism, very sound defensively, has KO power. He's really low output and just kind of wants to hang out on the outside, pick his shots well, but he does have KO power. He does truly only really need to land flush once, and he completely, I mean, he has shown that he can put guys to sleep. My prediction for the fight, do you think Yuri Prochazka is going to win via round 4 TKO? I'm super confident in this. We'll talk about my confidence, later, but I'm really confident in Yuri here. I just think he's able to do what he does in really every single fight that's not an Alex Pereira fight. I think he's able to find that moment, disrupt the flow of how Carlos Ulberg wants to make this fight go along, and take over the fight and find a way to win. I think after the first 3 rounds, Ulberg, I don't know what his average fight time is. He has had 5-round fights scheduled before, but I don't think any of them have actually gone 5 rounds. So I don't know. I think the experience, the cardio, just the overall style of Yuri Prochazka is able to overcome Carlos Ulberg. I think he's going to get a win. At minus 115, he's great value. And I think a better fight, regardless, is the fight not to go the distance at minus 130. I, I don't know. I think Yuri has obviously shown that he can get clipped before. All 4 of his losses, I think, are by knockout or some form of knockout. Alex Pereira's done it twice. He has been finished before, but I don't know. It's tough to say. So yeah, I think Yuri Prochazka gets it done at minus 115, and the fight not to go the distance at minus 130 are both the best bets there. All right, thank you guys for watching. If you've watched the entire way up to this point, or if you just fast forwarded, all good. The full betting recap, if you guys don't know yet, high value straights, maybe not the best name for it, but it's basically just things that you're going to put low money into for potential high reward. And then the parlay legs are things that I'm super confident in, things that I would place, and you can mix and match however you'd like, whatever your confidence is on those picks. Those are my high confidence picks over there. But on the left side, the high value straights, Rubovic sub at plus 1800, the highest high value straight up here. There's an outside shot of it happening. I think the value at plus 1800 isn't as crazy. If Gamrot's going to force the wrestling, then I think, there's a decent shot that Rubovic can sub him. He has like 5 sub wins in his career too. So not outside of the realm of possibilities. And we haven't really seen his grappling so far. So we'll see. Walker Reyes fight to go the distance at plus 320. Mirzakhanov and Costa, I talked about that. I think those are the only 2 ways that fight goes. Lupita Godinez to win at plus 125. She's the underdog. I think that's good value as well, but I'm just not as confident in that pick, so I wouldn't throw that in any parlays. And then Kevin Holland, I'm definitely not throwing his ass in any parlays. The better value is actually probably KO sub at plus 260. So if you are going to bet on Kevin Holland, I think him to win by finish is probably better value, but do not throw his ass in any single parlays. But the parlay legs, Swanson Landwehr to end in KO. I don't like picking a winner in that fight, but I do think that their styles and the point that they're at in their career kind of matches up for one of them to get knocked out in this fight. Super confident in that. Jiri, it's really hard to describe how confident I am in Jiri because you really have to watch him fight in order for you to be as confident, in him winning this fight. But Curtis Blades, money line, I'm super confident in him too. Like I said, I think there's levels to heavyweight that Josh Hokett's not necessarily there yet. And so I think Curtis Blades will win that fight. Pico, I think, will run through Patricio Pitbull. Gamrot money line and Padilla money line, two moderately good values there at minus 180 and minus 190. They just got a good matchup. So I think both of them will get it done as well. So let me know what you guys have. Let me know what you guys place. Thank you so much for watching. It's a fun card. There's fun card. There's fun fights all throughout. I don't know if it's going to be a big submission night. I think a lot of people outside of Kevin Holland, maybe people are saying, KO decision. I think that'll probably be how it plays out. It'll be fun regardless. The co-main event falling out is definitely not great, but that does stack the 328 card. Joshua Van Tetzer, Tyra, I was definitely looking forward to it. You guys will have to wait to see who I pick for 328. But the 328 card stack now, that card's going to be a lot of fun. They just added Jim Miller to that card as well, too. So some fun stuff to look forward to. Definitely not looking forward to the Winnipeg card on Saturday. That's not that great. We got Gilbert Burns doing a main event, the big 2-6. But regardless, like I said, let me know what you guys have. Let me know if you guys liked this, if I did a good job. I changed up some of the graphics, so we're improving the quality here. Come on. Yeah, let me know if you think I'm a dumbass too. Whatever you guys, whatever you guys have. Hopefully, I steer you guys in the right direction, and I will see you guys on Sunday for the overall breakdown. And I will try to get out a video that's not a breakdown or a recap, but we've been saying that at the end of every single video. But I do really think that it's about to happen. So thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you on Sunday for the recap. See ya.